there's also a trend in African nations where you democratically elect a president, and 1 year later, because you don't like some of the things that they did, you basically go on the street and try to overthrow the president. So my question here is that, is it better to cultivate a mentality of democracy where you let the president finish his mandate and rule him out through election, or to stop him in the middle of his term because he's not doing the things that you're expecting him to do? Because we're a younger nation, we want to build that, habit of practicing democracy and ruling out president through election. So should we deprive ourselves from going on the street, getting president out every year because they are not doing what we expect them to do, or to wait after the term is over and rule them out through election? Because this thing happened in Mali, and that was a really big discussion on a lot of African channels. Yeah. What do you think?
So, okay, I was gonna say people shouldn't stop protesting, because for me, I feel like that is a big part of expressing yourself and freedom of expression, like we were talking about earlier on. So I feel like people should still be allowed to protest if they feel that something is wrong. However, I feel like we should also have laws in place, like what should we do if a president is not doing what they meant to do? What should we do if a president does something that is unacceptable? So I feel like we need laws that people can follow and have steps, like, okay, if you have a problem, do this, and then something will actually come out of that. Instead of just saying people should not just protest, because I feel like that's a very big part of just expressing yourself, and I feel like that helps with democracy when people feel that I can say something, and so I will say something if something is wrong. However, I do understand where you're coming from in terms of someone finishing their term, but it's like, in order for a president to finish a term, they should do what a president should do, and if for any reason they're not doing what they meant to do, then they should be removed, I guess.
The question more around building an habit of democracy. For example, I know a country that we probably all know where the president was acting really not presidential. But what happened, the people didn't try to overthrow the president. They let him finish his mandate because they wanted to maintain that culture of letting the president finish his term and rule him out. So we have a choice here. Either we break up that culture of letting the president finish the mandate, or to take them out whenever we feel like they're not doing the right thing. And then we take in consideration the effect that it can have on democracy culture in the country. So that way I was coming from, that you had something to say.
You said something about depriving us from going to the street. I wouldn't say it's really a deprivation, but honestly, I think it's best to stand down and wait his turn. Because otherwise, you go out in the street, and even if there are those laws and all, it will always lead to like something else, Going out in the street will also give, it will lead to political instability. So my opinion is to wait, let the president finish his mandate, because he also said that he will go in power and that he will start doing things, but like it won't be what you expected. I mean, he can't please everybody. It's impossible to please. It's impossible to please 25 million people. As long as he's not going against some of the laws that's been put there for presidents and all, I think it's best to wait for him to finish his mandate and then rule him out if majority decides to do so.
The thing is, what I'm talking about is democracy always comes first. After democracy, we need politicians. The only problem we have in Africa, we don't have really good politicians. can basically come with a procedure that could be followed if such kind of stuff happen, like in a political system. Because you need, like, for example, right ways, like as you said, like laws and stuff. Those are all established when there is right politicians in a country. The thing is, we cannot have, for example, an ideal, healthy state where, for example, everyone will support the president or something. Criticism always happens. This is something natural. It's going to happen whatever what we try to do. There always going to be people who's going to oppose. But if we have the right political procedures that a country must follow, like for example, you cannot just stop a president if he's not doing something good. You cannot just come out and people go to the road and then, oh, we don't want this president anymore. There is a procedure that needs to be followed. And if we could have a very good politicians that can make those, for example, political system to occur, it will be a good idea. So the thing still goes back to education. Like we didn't reach to that position where we can have, like, for example, establish that kind of stuff, because a lot of people are still illiterate. Like if we have like a lot of some people that can, for example, come and develop such kind of procedures, it will be good. And it's for example, the job of the Legislative Assembly to do that. But for them to do that, they need people that have potential to create such kind of stuff. And of course, it's not absolute political procedure that will continue for years. It could change, because that's how we always want, like, for example, ratification of, like, for example, law or something like that. So it's not something absolute. So the only thing here is, okay, a lot of countries have democracy, but we don't have people that can make those democracies strong. Like we need people, like politicians, that can come up and try to come a law that can protect people's rights within this democracy. You got what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I think we need right now, instead of, like, for example, trying to just take the president. No, this president doesn't have the potential to live.
Yeah, because that's something that I've been observing a lot, as I said, Mali, and also is a trend now. People in Africa just rise and want the president to be overthrown, but they don't understand the consequences in the long run. In the long run, you're gonna have like a 10-year span where you didn't have any stable democracy, and that's really bad for the.
Yeah, I just want to say that even if we throw out, the president, the leading party should still be the same. You get me? Because what the vote that we did last year or in the previous years meant, like the people who came and vote for this person or for this party in general, it should kept it the same. Like just, for example, the vice president would take the presidency now. You get me? And aim for a change. If it didn't happen, then it should be like, there is a set of order of who will take the presidency later on, but it should be the same party, because you'll be depriving the majority who elected this party or this president before. So,
and I completely second him on his idea, because that's the same thing, for example, that happened in North Sudan. You see, in North Sudan, when they took the president out, you always have in African countries like one political party that dominates the government. If you take that president out, of course, it is still the same party that controls. What have you done? You've done nothing. Because that party will just bring someone from down and put him again in power. And the same cycle of ruling continues. So, like, if we can find, like, for example, a way that we can literally try to terminate such kind of stuff from happening, it will be good, because most of African countries are like that. Like, most of them.
Yeah, it's actually true. Yeah, a lot of countries are like that. My country, if the president steps down, is the president of the assembly that goes on. But sometimes the president of the assembly is being selected from the ruling party, and as we say, it's going to be the same cycle of those same thing. So now the next point in the discussion is, we all talked about education being key institution, educating people, and how long do you think this is going to take? How long do you think we're going to be fully educated on the exercise of democracy, and we'll finally be able to have a president for 5 years, then the next one come for 5 years, then we just become a routine? How long do you think? That's
I mean,
gonna be.
I don't know if I'll still be alive to see it, but for me, it can take as long as it can, because the Eiffel Tower wasn't built in like one day. You know, even if it's my kids' generation that see a real stable democracy, it's good. You know, like change will never happen in one day. Change is what's progressive, and if we start with the 21st generation back home right now, implementing those courses about politics and all,